let me tell you about this baby. We are becoming the best of friends, really, because she's now 21 years old, and she has always been a beauty and so smart and fun and hateful. Okay, so now she not to other people. She holds it in when she's in public so that she can come home and let it out on me. And that's okay, I'm her safe person. And I believe that God allows this when your children get in about, I don't know, junior, senior in high school, because he knows that you're grieving, because they're gonna leave. And he knows that you're gonna take to the bed over it. So, their junior and senior year, something happens. And they change on you. And they get to be the meanest people you've ever been around. So by the time they're ready to leave, you kick their crap out onto the curb. Her junior year, this started, okay, the very breath that I breathed out of my nostrils made her so angry. We were not allowed to eat cereal in our own home. Because she couldn't stand to hear us chew. And I don't mean to talk about her because she had a lot on her. She had a lot on her, like she had to empty the dishwasher. And that's a lot, you know. I'll give y'all an example. Okay, at the University of Tennessee in her sorority, these girls will come home, you know, and I'll cook for them and do, and I'm tickled. All right, well, they like Memphis, Nashville girls. Well, a little girl came home with her and spent 2 nights. So I washed that little thing's clothes, and all I said to this little girl was, Katie, you're so tiny. Your little underwear looks like a slingshot. That little girl thought it was funny, and my baby went. So I got out of there. So when that little girl left, I came back in, I went, what's wrong with me saying that her little panties look like a slingshot? I wish somebody'd say my panties look like a slingshot. My panties looked like... Have y'all ever seen Mel Gibson in Braveheart? You know when they pull that big ball out and that thing looks like it's a catapult. They pull that big ball, fling it and kill a bunch of children with it. That's what my panties look like. Do y'all know who owns Victoria's Secret? I used to buy my panties at Victoria's Secret, but they started cutting me in two. All right. Do y'all know who, seriously, do y'all know who owns it? Satan. Okay, so. Okay, y'all. My middle one that lives here in Chattanooga has always had a lot of suitors coming around and wanting to date her, and she had this one, and he was I wouldn't say an Eddie Haskell, but he was a schmoozer. Like he knew how to, he was a player, okay? Their daddy's not a player, okay? My husband, he doesn't chat. Like he vacuumed out my car when he was dating me, and he bought my cigarettes, so that's how we started. But anyway, it was the 80s. But anyway, The young people call it playa, you know, some fast-talking boy. She had this fast-talking boy coming around, and he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful today. And I was like, can I make you a casserole? Thank goodness they broke up, because I was exhausted. I was mopping the floor and blowing my hair out every day. And I don't do that. Let me tell you why I got played. I thought, why am I so tickled when somebody compliments me? It's because my love language is words of affirmation. Have y'all ever heard of that book, 5 Love Languages? It is wonderful, and it works. It's the real deal. My husband and I went on a Sunday school class retreat when our children were little, and we watched this little frail man talk about it. Okay, and it was on Oprah, so you know it's real. But anyway, what it is there's 5 love languages, and you get the book, you read the book. Well, you don't really, I don't read the book. But anyway, you take the test, and it tells you what your prominent love language is out of those 5, and it tells you what your partner's love language is. So then you can go home at night and feed your partner their love language, and they can feed you your love language, and then your love tank feels full. And if you don't do it, then your partner's liable to go to work, and they're at the water fountain, and some whore comes in. And feeds their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Y'all know where I'm going with that? It's a disaster. So, there's 5 love languages. There's quality time. You just can sit and watch ESPN with somebody, you know, which I don't want to. But, I mean, you just sit with somebody. Okay, then there's gifts. And you can just give them a card and they feel loved. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Okay, then there's physical touch. And most women in here will go, oh my gosh, that's my husband's. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But it's not that kind of nasty. I'm talking about, you know, like there's people that just want to hug you and kiss you and squeeze you and they got to hold your hand. That's the physical touch they're talking about. Okay, then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you are a good mama. Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then my love tank feels full, and then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. So you see how it all works out. So his love language, the 5th one, is acts of service. So I have to go and build a set of shelves in the garage for him to feel love. That doesn't make sense to me, but anyway, y'all need to get that book. My middle one, we go and get spray tans together. And I love them, and I feel thinner in them. If you're going through a hard time, go get a spray tan. Makes you feel like a movie star. Okay, well, we went the other night, and this is the difference for you young mamas out there. Like, women going like in your 20s and 30s and even in your 40s when you still are, you know, have life left in you. Okay. There's something happens to you when you're in your 50s, and it is wonderful. You don't care, okay? You don't care about anything. All right. We go to get a spray tan, and y'all know about Snapchat. There's a thing called Snapchat where you can video somebody and send it to your friend. Okay. Or send it out to the world, I guess. All right. I'm completely naked with a plastic bag on my head. In the spray tanning thing, and it's like a car wash. It does this. And then you do. And then you do. And then you do. Okay. And when it's cold outside, it feels like needles going in you. It's so cold. Oh, that's awful. But anyway, she started filming me on Snapchat, completely nude. Now, in my 30s and 40s, I would have been hysterical, and I would have been in a bowl, and I would have been so torn up. In your 50s, at first I was like, and then I was like, I don't care. I think I may have gone. I don't care. I don't care. It's a wonderful feeling. I hope y'all can all get to that one day where you don't care. Honey, it's wonderful. I just don't care. Okay. All right. She is a beauty. And I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest, but she's always had a bunch of boys coming around wanting to date her. So there was one that came around, and he was a player. Do y'all remember that, player? Remember? So the young people call it player. My husband's not a player. He doesn't chat at all. So he never sweet talked me or, he's not that way. Solid, though, solid. I've got good health insurance. But, he is never, charmed, not that kind of man. Okay. Well, she had this one coming around. He was a charmer. He was a player. And so he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful. And I'd be like, can I make you a casserole? And eventually they broke up, praise God, because I was exhausted. I was blowing my hair out every day and mopping the kitchen floor. All right, I know you boys have been waiting for me to talk about my panties. I know, calm down. I named this the Big Panty Tour. I've done 100 cities. This is winding it down. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. And people ask me all the time, why'd you name this Big Panty Tour? And I tell people, I like big panties. Big panties say to me, freedom. Comfort. I was wearing these tiny panties for years, and they were cutting me in two. I thought, who are these for? Little children? I love, boys, are y'all watching? I love a high-cut brief. I love a high-cut brief, and I like it to come over my stomach. Thank you. Thank you. And the kind that I wear are called Vanity Fair lingerie. Beyond comfort. Beyond comfort. And they are soft and luxurious, and they don't ride up. They stay out of my crack. I don't want anything in my crack. I know, love them, okay. But I want you boys to know that I've held on to some tiny little hateful panties. I've kept them in a drawer, and I get those out every once in a while in case some bills need to get paid, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's biblical. Okay, let me tell y'all about my hernia. All right, so Children's Hospital in East Tennessee, in Knoxville, our Children's Hospital, had asked me for years to be in there Dancing with the Stars. I want to be able to tell y'all it was ABC, but it wasn't. It was in Knoxville, and it was local celebrities. So it's like the weatherman. and Phil Fulmer if he didn't have a knee replacement, and you know, people like that. So they had asked me, there's not many celebrities, so they had asked me, and I said, well, I've been eating white flour, and I'm in a bad place, and I don't know. Because they make you wear a bikini with fringe sewn on it, like ABC. You wear outfits like that, so you're practically nude in front of everybody you've ever known. So I said, this is for little children. This is the least I can do. So they put me with a big old boy that was my partner. He was a doll, and it was very stressful. You had to learn a dance in 6 weeks. You had to learn a dance. You practiced at night, and then you begged for money during the day. It was a lot. And we were going to learn the cha-cha, the Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I was going to kill it. Well, one night, he kind of flung me hard, and I thought, oh, something popped. And something doesn't feel right. The next morning, I woke up, and there was this big bulging thing about right here. And I called my girlfriend in Greenville, Tennessee, and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And she said, because I have trouble with that. But she said, I don't think poop goes up that far. And so she looked on her iPad on WebMD, and she sent me this picture of this man looked like an alien coming out of him. She said, is that it? And I go, that's it. She goes, you've got a hernia. So I went to my doctor, and they said, we can't push this thing back in. And so the thing was in 5 days with the Children's Hospital, and I didn't want to let them down. And I thought, Lord, what are we going to do? And my girls stepped in and learned a dance in 4 days. Bless their hearts, and they were practically nude. And they had to wear all that too. And I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning. Thank you. And it all turned out good. The girls did that dance. You've seen that video from a long time, from the 60s with Tina Turner, and they were doing that dance. You know, it looked like car wash, something going through. Y'all seen that? And you know that Ike probably whipped her in a cocaine rage before she hit that video. So I thought, if she can do it, I can do it. But you know, let me tell you, it ended up a wonderful thing. We raised a lot of money, and it was a blessing. And this blessing came out of it. Let me tell you, my husband found out about the cuddling program, and he is a baby cuddler. He cuddles drug-dependent babies every Wednesday night in Children's Hospital. Thank you. Thank you. That is so sweet. He didn't help me with mine, but that is so sweet. It's because he's out making a living. But anyway, what I learned out of that whole hernia thing was that God forbid that I got sick with something bad. Because I truly believe that my husband and my children would let me die. That's what I learned out of that. I laid up in the bed for 3 days and nobody checked on me. I remember hobbling over to the stairs and yelling down, are we gonna eat anything? And I could just hear people going through my purse. My love language is words of affirmation. Okay, if you have not taken that test, go get you a book called The 5 Love Languages. My husband and I did it at the Methodist Church. When we were just married, we went on a retreat and we did this. And they have one for your children and they have one for your spouse. So you read it, you take the test, and everybody has a prominent love language. There's 5 of them. And so you find out what your spouse's love language is. and they find out what your love language is, and you feed each other their love language. And then when you do, their love tank feels full. And if they feed you yours, your love tank feels full. If you don't feed them their love language, they go to work. And they're at the water fountain. And some whore comes up. And feeds them their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Everybody, I think you know where I'm going with that. Okay. So there's 5 love languages. The first one is quality time. You know people that just want you to spend quality time with them. Just them. Okay. Then there's physical touch. I know you girls think, that's my husband. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But I'm not talking about that kind of physical touch, the nasty kind. I'm talking about, you know, people that just want to squeeze and they're physical and they want to hold your hand, they want to hug on you. That kind of physical touch. Okay, then there's gifts. And that's my sister. She loves, if you've thought about her, it doesn't have to be expensive. If it's a rose, if it's a card, hers is gifts. She feels love and her love tank is full. Mine is words of affirmation. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you look beautiful today. Or Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. You see how that works? That's really biblical. Okay, and then the 5th one is acts of service. So that's my husband's. So I have to, honest to goodness, I have to go in the garage and build a set of shelves for him to feel love. Sisters, brothers, and others, welcome back to the Reportin for Duty, a tribute to our dear and blessed friend, Leslie Jordan. No, that little angel. Okay, y'all know that Leslie was raised in church, and this is the crazy thing. We had mutual friends that he was raised in church with, that I'm close to, and I was raised in church. I think most of us here in the South were. Well, I raised my children in church. I've got 3 that I'm in love with. My boy is my oldest, and then 2 girls. My boy has always been very spiritually mature and an old soul. God did it. Me and my husband did not do it. We're full of sin. But he has always been like a little old man. And when he was in high school, he went on a date with a girl, and he came home, and I said, what have y'all been doing? And he said, well, we've been kissing on the couch. I said, it's okay. That's natural. But I said, baby, before you know it, you've got your arm around somebody, and then you've got your hand on her leg, and then things can get out of control. And he looked at me like I was crazy, and he said, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's ever going to happen. And I know he meant that at that time. And all I could think of was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship. On a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now, because I could get a new purse out of that. in here's been to a lock-in? Oh, my Lord. Who came up with the lock-in? Who was that sweet fool who came up? I'm sure it was somebody well-meaning that in a committee meeting that said, oh, y'all, let's do something for all the hormonal teenagers. We'll gather them up and put them in the church building and lock the door and turn out the lights and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. Thank y'all. Okay, let's keep this thing going. Thank y'all. Y'all been precious. All right, let me tell you that my boy, all my children are yummy, and I'm in love with them, and I love my girls, and I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. Because he is now since married and gone off with his wife and her people. And that's what boys do. They cling to their wife. That's biblical. He said to me, Mom, she is now my immediate family. You are my extended. That's what he said to me right before they got married. And he said, Mom, that's biblical. I'm supposed to cling to my wife. And I thought, why did I show him the Bible? Well, he has always been spiritually mature. We call him our little Billy Graham. My husband and I, we didn't do it. God did it. I'm full of sin. Okay. I've been washed in the blood, but I've been a horrible, horrible person. Not too bad, but okay. So this baby has been just like an old man all of his life. Let me give you an example. He had a little girlfriend in high school, and he would go over to her house and they'd watch movies. And he came home one night and he used to tell me everything. And I said, what y'all been doing? He said, well, we've been watching television and kissing on the couch. And I said, okay, baby, okay. That's all right. That's normal. But I said, you know, before you know it, you've got your hand on somebody's leg, your arm around, and you know, things can get out of control. And I just say, slow it down. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship on a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now, because I could get a new purse out of that. Okay, y'all, have you ever heard of lock-in? I know everybody in here that has been from Chattanooga has probably been raised in church. Okay, I don't know who that little darling, sweet fool was that came up with the lock-in. Some probably little woman in a committee meeting. And she probably said, oh gosh, y'all, let's come up with something for all the hormonal teenagers. Let's gather them up and put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. This doll does not need to worry about me showing you my Spanx. Okay? Because you would, oh thanks, he went. Because you would vomit, my darling. Because I'm 52 and I've lost my bloom. And life has kicked me in the teeth. And I eat sugar and white flour to push down my emotions, to keep from getting hooked on whiskey. But no, I'm not going to show you my Spanx, and you better be thankful I don't have on my Soma panties tonight. But my Spanx is like folding down over my stomach as we speak. My husband and I both play sports, and we love sports. And I know y'all are thinking, you sissy thing, you didn't play sports, but I did. I should have cared more. I was worried about my hair, but anyway, we loved it. And we pushed our 4-year-old, our oldest, when he was 4, we made him do T-ball. And I was thinking about it because it's T-ball season right now. And T-ball, if you don't know anything about T-ball season, it's about 110 degrees outside. The games last about 3 hours. It's little children with looks like they got a pull-up on under their baseball pants. Nobody ever hits the ball, throws the ball, makes contact with the ball. My boy hated it and laid in a fetal position on his glove the entire season. And every once in a while, he'd pop his little head up and say, water. And my middle child was about 2.5 at the time, and I said, please take your brother bottled water out there to the field. And she was 2.5. She had her crown and her wand and her tutu and her pink prostitute shoes from Walmart on. And she went running out to the field and stopped and got a glazed look over her eyes, pulled her panties to the side, and pooped in the T-ball field. I had to run out there and get a stick and flick it into the woods because I didn't want another child to step in it or think it was a milk dud. But he refused to play sports until he was probably about in middle school. He was so traumatized by all of that. My husband is a big old man, 6'4". Very Superman-like, broad shoulders, narrow hips. He weighs about 230, 250 if we're all on gluten. I am 5'8", I'm a big girl, and we breed big kids. So we had all these beautiful tall children. And my girls ended up playing volleyball and travel volleyball all over the United States, but they grew to be 5'8" and 5'9". We thought they were going to be taller. They wanted to be 6 feet so badly, and I finally said, you know, do you really want to go into the transgender store and get your shoes? You know. But anyway, so my baby child grew really quick, really fast, and I think it's all that chicken I fed her. Now we don't eat any hormones and anything, but you know, back then we didn't know. So anyway, she grew really quick, really fast, and in elementary she was about 5'5", 5'6", and so she was taller than all the little children and the principal and all the teachers. And she hated it. Was so self-conscious, but the good news is very athletic, very strong, and so all these teams around East Tennessee would call me and ask me, can she play goalkeeper for me in soccer? I'll buy her an iPhone. I'm not kidding. Can she play basketball for me? Because you just didn't see girls that tall and that strong and at that age. And I felt like LeBron James's mama. Is that him? LeBron James, little mama. And I lived through her, and I made her do all of that, and she hated it. She hated it. And so one day she came to us and she goes, I'm sick of all this and I'm not doing it anymore. She said, I want to cheer. I said, well, baby, we're big people, and I said, we don't tumble, but I'll try to figure this out. So I found out in the United States there's called competition cheer. And we have it here in Knoxville. It's called the Sharks. So they said, for 10 weeks, you're going to do CrossFit 3 days a week, and you're going to do the Paleo Diet. The Paleo Diet is what God put upon this earth to sustain us. And He knows what we need. So it's lean meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, berries, and seeds. So if you can run it down and kill it, dig it out of the ground, pick it off of a bush, you can eat it. That means no dairy, no grains of any kind. But when they take you lean meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and berries, you think, that's not so bad. Okay, but no dairy, no grains. When's the last time anybody in here got off of white flour? Anybody, can you clap? Can you clap, or are you too weak? Anybody here been hooked on heroin? Anybody? I've never been hooked on heroin, praise God, but I was raised watching Shaft. I don't know if y'all watched that when y'all were little on TV, and they would always have somebody getting off of heroin. It looked like a booger. It looked like an awful booger. And I'm not trying to belittle that, but I'm telling you, I shook getting off of sugar and white flour. I was drinking coffee 24 hours a day. My teeth got yellow. I had to have those bleached. My husband said, you are so hateful. Will you please eat a piece of white bread? But Church of God, Becky and I did it, honey. We did it. And I mean, then they took our after picture. It took, 10 weeks later, and I did not lose that much weight. It was like 8 or 9 pounds, but my body turned into somebody else's body, honey. And it was pretty cute. And I leaned out and I thought, oh my gosh. And so then they took our after picture, and I made sure I got a spray tan. And I had a really good bra on, and I took that picture. And I'm ashamed to tell y'all, but I won that competition. Oh, stop. I don't deserve to be applauded. I know y'all are thinking, oh gosh, Leanne, that's wonderful, but what happened? What happened, Leanne? I'll tell you what happened. I did okay for about 3 weeks, and then I spotted a tortilla. That's what happened. Years ago, when it first came to Knoxville, I was traveling with Paula Day, and she had these bodyguards that looked like movie stars, and I said, what do y'all do? And they said, CrossFit. And I said, well, I want to do it. Well, me and my friend, Church of God, Becky, Church of God, Becky and I joined the CrossFit in Knoxville. The CrossFit was run at the time by these little children. They were in their early 20s, and they were beautiful. And they looked like movie stars, and their little fannies looked like baseballs. And I wanted my fanny to look like a baseball. So I made Church of God Becky join, and she'll do whatever I say. So anyway, and I call her Church of God Becky because she was raised Church of God, so sweet, sheltered. Like I have to explain things to her. Things like camel toe. So we first get to the CrossFit. And if y'all don't know what CrossFit is, it's military moves like push-ups, pull-ups, burpees. I hate a burpee. Okay, all these things, they would put like a tractor tire in the parking lot, and they'd set little Becky in it, and I would pull Becky across the parking lot as she was holding her purse. So I felt like a bad mama jamma, and I was so tickled and into it. And they came to us one day and they go, we want y'all to be in our contest. It's called a Paleo contest. And it's going to be 10 weeks long. The men are going to be against each other and the women, and we're going to take your before and after picture, and whoever's body has changed the most at the end will win 3 months of free training. And I wanted to win that 3 months of free training because I didn't want to have to do something vulgar to my husband for the money. So we're going along, and one day they just pop up and go, okay, it's picture day. We're like, what? And they said, okay, take your top off and leave your exercise bra on and your spandex, your yoga pant, and we're going to take your picture. Well, I didn't want those young boys to not ever want to marry and have children. So I said, Becky and I are going to the back, and I needed to biz my bra so bad. It had no support to it, and it was a gray looking, it was white, but I needed to biz it overnight. I did not know. Anyway, we go back to the office, and I'm going to take Becky's picture, and she's going to take mine. And Becky went. And I said, what are you doing, Becky? Do you want to win this thing? I want to win it. So I took my spandex and shoved it under my stomach and went. That picture is on the internet. My husband, there's two things on this earth that make him happy. A clean house and sex. Oh, lucky me. I like a clean house too. But I'm too fun to clean. I want somebody else to do it, you know? So to make my husband happy, I got to where I would just pour bleach in certain parts of the house. And so when he came home, he'd smell it and think that I had been cleaning. It worked for a little while, and then he caught on to me. And he said, if you'll have sex with me twice a week, I'll get you a maid. No. And then, he said, well, if you don't start taking care of my needs, I guess I'm going to have to get a girlfriend. I said, oh, dear Lord, say it's not so. I said, well, make sure that she's stout and that she can mow, because I need some help. And I tell you, for you little mamas out there, you young mamas that are going through, you know, got a bunch of little children vomiting in the carpet, peeing in the closet. When you're trying to pee and they like slide ham under the door and say, can you open this, Mom? I know what y'all want for Mother's Day. Y'all want an Ambien and a hotel room. I hope y'all get it. I hope y'all get it. When you get to be my age, and I'm 51 years old, honey, you beg your little children to come home and be up your butthole. I beg them and try to hold money over their head. All right, but they're all home. I'm so thankful, so grateful. Okay, y'all, we got a big night ahead of us. Y'all are precious. I want to talk to y'all about, because I am 51 and going through hormonal changes. Okay, I am with their daddy, and these children all walked off and left me with him. And he's so not fun. And he can't help it. He's that way because he has to make a living for all of us. And he's got a lot on us, and all the money's going out the window. And, you know, because we got 2 in college, we just had 1 get married. But he and I are having to adjust being together for the first time in how many years, you know, before we got married. And so he sends me emoji, kissy faces, and stuff like that. But I am low on progesterone and testosterone. He's low on testosterone, praise God. Have y'all seen the goober mamas? The mamas that wear blue jeans up their armpits, you know. I don't want to be like that, so I went to the Gap to get some low-rising blue jeans. Have you girls bought pants in the last 5 years? Oh my goodness, terrible. Okay. I went into the Gap, this beautiful, darling little 19-year-old heifer brought me in a pair of blue jeans to try on. I did. Okay, the zipper, honest to goodness, was about that long. And they hit me about right here. And I said to her, I said, is my stomach supposed to be hanging out over my blue jeans? It looks like a small purse. I said, are my panties supposed to be hanging out this far out of the back of my pants? She said, no, you're supposed to wear a thong. I said, excuse me, miss, but I'm a Christian. I don't use my panties for evil. All right, she is a beauty. And I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest, but she's always had a bunch of boys coming around wanting to date her. So there was one that came around, and he was a player. Do y'all remember that, player? Remember? So the young people call it player. My husband's not a player. He doesn't chat at all. So he never sweet talked me, or, you know, he's not that way. Solid, though, solid. I've got good health insurance. But, like, he has never, you know, charmed, you know, not that kind of man. Okay. Well, she had this one coming around. He was a charmer. He was a player. And so he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful. And I'd be like, can I make you a casserole? And eventually they broke up, praise God, because I was exhausted. I was blowing my hair out every day and mopping the kitchen floor. But the reason I got played, let me tell y'all, the reason I got played is because my love language is words of affirmation. Okay, if you have not taken that test, go get you a book called The 5 Love Languages. My husband and I did it at the Methodist Church. When we were just married, we went on a retreat, and we did this. And they have one for your children and they have one for your spouse. So you read it, you take the test, and everybody has a prominent love language. There's 5 of them. And so you find out what your spouse's love language is. And they find out what your love language is, and you feed each other their love language. And then when you do, their love tank feels full. And if they feed you yours, your love tank feels full. If you don't feed them their love language, they go to work. And they're at the water fountain. And some whore comes up. And feeds them their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Everybody, I think you know where I'm going with that. Okay. So there's 5 love languages. The first one is quality time. You know people that just want you to spend quality time with them. Just them. Okay. Then there's physical touch. I know you girls think, that's my husband. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But I'm not talking about that kind of physical touch, the nasty kind. I'm talking about, you know, people that just want to squeeze and they're physical and they want to hold your hand, they want to hug on you, that kind of physical touch. Okay, then there's gifts. And that's my sister. She loves, if you've thought about her, it doesn't have to be expensive. If it's a rose, if it's a card, hers is gifts. She feels love and her love tank is full. Mine is words of affirmation. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you look beautiful today. Or Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. I know. I used to watch Shaft when I was little, and you know somebody was always getting off of heroin. I'm not saying that's like that, but kinda. I shook. Y'all know what I heard on today's show? Do y'all know who Donnie Deutsch is? That name's hard to say, Deutsch. The big idea, Donnie Deutsch, he's some big advertising guy that's done like Nike. I don't know what all he's done, but anyway, nice looking man. He was on the Today Show with Matt Lauer and all them. They were talking about Valentines, and they said that men really don't care about Valentine's Day. That women, it's more for women, and that you need to buy your wife and girlfriend, you know, nifty things on Valentine's Day. And they said, what do men want? And he said, men want a woman to do nasty, vulgar things to them. And he said, you know, do a surprise, like dress up in something, an outfit, like a nursing outfit or a French maid. And I thought to myself, Lord, if I've got on a French maid outfit, I know Chuck, he'd say, Leanne, get some spick and span. We're going to fix these baseboards that you hadn't washed the whole time we've lived here. I'm going to dust them, and then I want you to go over them with spick and span. And then just after I had ruined my back, after a day of doing the baseboard, then he would come up to me and try to mount me, I guess is what people say. Is that nasty? I'm sorry. I don't mean that. I'm sorry. I don't mean that. Well, that's biblical. I'm married. My love language is words of affirmation. Have y'all ever heard of that book, 5 Love Languages? It is wonderful, and it works. It's the real deal. My husband and I went on a Sunday school class retreat when our children were little, and we watched this little frail man talk about it. Okay, and it was on Oprah, so you know it's real. But anyway, what it is there's 5 love languages, and you get the book, you read the book. Well, you don't really, I don't read the book. But anyway, you take the test, and it tells you what your prominent love language is out of those 5, and it tells you what your partner's love language is. So then you can go home at night and feed your partner their love language. And they can feed you your love language, and then your love tank feels full. And if you don't do it, then your partner's liable to go to work and they're at the water fountain and some whore comes in. And feeds their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Y'all know where I'm going with that? It's a disaster. So, there's 5 love languages. There's quality time, and that's my sister's. Quality time, but you just can sit and watch ESPN with somebody, which I don't want to, but I mean, you just sit with somebody. Okay, then there's gifts. And you can just give them a card and they feel loved. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Okay, then there's physical touch. And most women in here will go, oh my gosh, that's my husband's. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But it's not that kind of nasty. I'm talking about, like there's people that just want to hug you and kiss you and squeeze you and they got to hold your hand. That's the physical touch they're talking about. Okay, then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you are a good mama. Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then my love tank feels full, and then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. So you see how it all works out. So his love language, the 5th one, is acts of service. So I have to go and build a set of shelves in the garage for him to feel love. And I got asked to do the sweetest thing in my hometown. I got asked to do a charity event for East Tennessee Children's Hospital in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it was a local Dancing with the Stars for local celebrities. And I'm a big deal in Knoxville. So they asked me to do this, and I didn't want to do it because they put you in a bikini with fringe sewn on it, just like they do on ABC. You're practically naked in front of everybody you've ever known. And I had been eating white flour, and I was in a bad place, and I didn't want to do it, but I thought, isn't that selfish of me? That's sick little children. And they raised so much money. So stressful. So one night we were practicing, he kind of slung me hard, and I thought, oh my gosh, something doesn't feel right. So I went to bed, and I got up the next morning, and this big thing was sticking out about right here, and I thought, oh my gosh, is that backed up poop? And because I have trouble with that. And I called my girlfriend, Emily, and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And she said, I don't think poop goes up that far. And so she looked on her WebMD on her iPad and found a picture of a man that looked like an alien coming out of him. And she said, is that it? And I said, yes. And she said, you got a hernia. So like 4 days before the event, I had a hernia that had to be operated on. So I went in for that operation, and my 2 teenage girls that are usually so hateful, okay, They stepped in and learned to dance in 4 days. So the night of the event, I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning. And they did that video, that dance. If you remember when Tina Turner would do that and it looked like a car wash. Do y'all remember that? And what I learned in that whole thing, what I learned in that whole thing was that if something bad, really bad happened to me, God forbid, like a bad sickness, my husband and my children would let me die. After I had that hernia surgery, I laid up in the bed for 3 days and nobody checked on me. Well, all over the United States, they've got this thing called competition cheer. And it's kind of like, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like Honey Boo Boo meets the Olympics, really. It's gymnast. They're gymnasts. And there's one in Knoxville called the Sharks. And they said, drop your baby off and she can try out to audition, whatever you want to call it. So I dropped her off and they ended up putting her on a bad Mama Jamma team because all the little children her age came up to hear on her. And somebody's got to throw them up in the air. So they were thrilled with her and they treated us like royalty. But anyway, they said, you're going to come in here twice a week, learn a 2-minute routine. It's going to cost you $150 a month. It's like, okay. They said, there's a uniform that you're going to order, and it comes to here. It's going to expose her stomach. She's going to have a tiny skirt on with a slit in it with a glitter panty underneath it. It's $300. I said, that's a whore outfit. And it came with its own bag of whore makeup. So that all the little children could look alike. And they said, y'all are gonna travel to faraway lands and compete against other little whore children. So we went to like Cincinnati or Atlanta. And we had to get hotel rooms and the gas and all of that. And then you drive up to a big coliseum, a huge coliseum. And there's tens of thousands of little whore children walking around. And my husband said, there could be pedophiles here. This is the ugliest thing something's not right. Okay, so then they said, you're gonna pay $150 for your baby to be in this competition. You're gonna have to pay $30 to put a band on to get in and watch your baby in this competition. Somebody was selling corn dogs for $15. Okay. They start out with the babies, so it goes from 5 to 18 ages. So the babies come out in a tiny little skirt about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's All the Single Ladies. And their little mamas are in their 20s. And they're not bitter yet. And they're in the front doing every move to keep their baby on track because they're babies and they need to be at home breastfeeding. So they move up throughout the day into my baby's age and they're the reef sharks. They call out that name, honey, for 2.5 minutes. My baby throws little children up in the air, flinging little children, broken out in a sweat, working like a Trojan. Did you see my Spanx? Okay, all right. One of my girls said I look like Miley Cyrus in the Wrecking Ball in my Spanx. But anyway, so she throws these little children up. The little children she's throwing up in the air are the flyers. They call them the flyers. And they're freakishly tiny little children. I don't know where these people come from. Their mamas are freakishly tiny. I mean, I come from big people. I've got thick ankles. I can work in the fields. And the whole time she's throwing them in there, these little girls are going. knows why, really. So at the end of the routine, after the 2.5 minutes, the finale, everybody hunkers down on the stage, puts their forehead on the stage, and my baby is the finale. She pops up and has a little child's foot in her hand and holds that child's foot. I would put it all the way up, but my dress is tight in the back. But anyway, she holds this little child up over her head. Are y'all listening to me? I mean, it was a big deal. Could you hold her up over your head or vice versa? I mean, you know, it's a big deal. So anyway, everybody went nuts. But she said, after it was over, she goes, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go back to playing. She ended up playing volleyball the rest of her childhood. But she said, I'm keeping that whore outfit. She said, I'm going to get married in it.